It all comes down to this on The Real Love Boat. I'm Anna Broomer with PopCulture.
And I'm Nick Valdez from comicbook.com.
And this is Docked, where we offer our unfiltered opinions about The Real Love Boat because it's the finale. We're getting a winner. I am so excited. Nick, right off the bat, what did you think of this week's finale episode with our 3 final challenges?
It's bittersweet. I've had so much fun towards like the second half of the season.
Yeah.
Because it started changing everything. It started experimenting. Now it's over. And now I'm just like, what am I going to do with myself? Am I going to shove off?
Oh my gosh, we are ultimately the ones that get told to shove off at the end of this all. Now, I thought this was a fun way to do a finale. I do wish that one of the challenges had been a little bit more physical, just because they have really funny physical challenges. I mean, last week we got to watch people squeegee olive oil off of each other. So I would have loved something a little bit like that. But I love that the first challenge we had this Newlywed Game. It's the Newlywed Game, right? I was going to say it's almost like the Newlywed Game, but it is. It's the same thing, except for they're not married. What did you think of the way that our couples handled this challenge?
I mean, it's tough, right? Because, we don't get to see all of their conversations, and then the questions themselves, too, are, like, totally random, right? Like, what's her birthday? What's her shoe size? And, in my head, I'm like, I'm not one of those persons who, like, thinks of feet, right? Like, that's not gonna be one of my first questions to somebody, So.
Yes. I think that my mom has to ask me what my shoe size is, and she, like, birthed me. I don't think that's something that people just know,
Yeah, there are pages on the internet dedicated to that stuff. I don't know it off the top of my head, and I didn't expect them to, which is why, like, it's so funny to, like, see it all play out. And, and then you start to see the cracks, right? Like, we see more of Daniel and 𝐒𝐿 who've been on a downturn heading in this finale. Surprisingly, started off the strongest. Then all that stuff with Daniel and Bree happened, and here we are.
And here we are. He doesn't know her birthday, not even the month. Wow. I was a little bit shook about that, because I do feel like that is classic get to know you, is asking birthdays. Shoe size, I'm giving everyone a pass for, but birthdays, what were the other ones? It was like favorite movies and music and that kind of thing, and he just had no idea. What are you guys talking about this whole time?
Yeah, the favorite musician thing came up, and it's so funny that we got the Jordan and Kendra closure on that, going back to the famous Nirvana moment.
Yeah, because she gets Nirvana right for his favorite band. And everyone is very impressed, blah, blah, blah. Wow, Kendra, you're really listening. She's like, no, remember back when we first met and he got the name of the Nirvana song wrong? And I was like, I do remember that, Kendra. We talked about it in the episode.
We do remember, Kendra. We were right there with you.
She was just creating memories from the start. Now, Jordan and Kendra, going in, I was like, I don't know. Like, these two clearly enjoy each other. I don't know how much of a love connection it is. After watching the Newlywed Game, first challenge, I'm pretty convinced that they're a real couple. They knew a lot about one another.
Yeah, like, the only things Kendra didn't know about Jordan were that, like, he wanted to be a fighter pilot, or, which is just the most random thing ever. Like, it's like he's never once said that on the show,
I think that's something that he's just come up with in this moment. Like,
yes.
I don't...
Yeah, exactly. Like, and she knew exactly how many kids he wanted, and specifically that he wants a girl, and it's all these little details that were like, so, like, I'm like, oh, that's what they've been doing while they've been off camera, right? Like, they've been actually getting to know each other.
Mind blown. Can you imagine these two are actually have a good grip on one another's lives after this show?
I mean, kudos to them. They did it. They were saved in the previous episode to actually get to the finale, and and they've shown that, hey, while, they might not be the top of the heap, they've at least formed this really good connection. The biggest surprise of the match game itself was Mike and Emily, right?
Whoa.
Like,
yes.
My mind was blown. I'm like, oh, is there like a little microphone in the headphones feeding Mike the answers or something? Like, they just met each other.
If we're going off the timeline that Mike said the other episode, where Marty and Emily had only known each other for like 2 weeks, then they can't have known each other for even 1 week. And he knew her shoe size, which maybe says something about Mike, but no judgment, nothing about that. But they knew everything about one another. I was shocked. She did struggle with a few things with him, but she had good guesses, like the favorite artist thing. He said Drake, she said Justin Bieber, but they did have a conversation about how he is a believer, so I could see that being not a wrong answer.
We did point that out in a previous episode when they first met, that we found out he was a believer. So, that's something that she also remembered. It was very cool to and this is what we see throughout the episode. It's, Mike and Emily have a much stronger connection than we probably wouldn't have guessed. I know he saved her from Barty, but I did not think they were this close,
Yeah, they really have a connection. The chemistry between them is very, hot and steamy, but also very familiar. It just feels like they've known each other for a long time. And I don't know if it's like a kind of pressure cooker that their relationship started off in, or if they're just a really good match.
I mean, maybe Marty was that bad of a match, compare Mike and Emily to Marty and Emily, or when Marty and Emily had the captain's, suite, and they were able to win the challenge and get closer. They had that really weird, awkward goodbye, where they were just like, okay, see you later. But wow. Mike and Emily kiss, several times. So,
Remember when we thought Emily was boring? I mean, apologies to Emily. She's not boring at all. She seems delightful. We thought she seemed nice and boring, but I would drop boring from the adjectives to describe her altogether now that she's kind of off and blossoming.
Yeah, she's really found herself on this boat, right? The real love was for herself. And
it's perfect.
The self-love boat, right? So,
The self-love boat. Oh my God. That was the lesson they want us to learn all along.
Unfortunately, at the end of the challenge, Daniel and Shaylin are trailing, which is one of those things where we're like, well, you probably didn't connect in the way you thought you did. This leads into challenge 2, which is just kind of more talking. It's just kind of like a conversation with the captain and the rest of the crew, where then they get to vote of who they think is the winner. You have Matt over here going, well, Daniel and Shaylin won the most challenges.
I was like, that's not what we're doing here, Matt.
No, we didn't need you there for that, right?
Exactly. That was an interesting quote-unquote challenge, because and maybe they were there a lot and we just didn't get as much of it in the editing. I just didn't feel like the crew was super involved in all these relationships. So for them to be like, yes, we have been, really up close and watching their journey the whole time. I'm like, you're not even there at the sail away ceremony. I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
It was more so in the beginning where they were just stirring the pot. But once the couples became couples, they kind of lost their purpose throughout the season.
Yeah.
But, at this point, it's like when you have Matt going, well, I only voted for them, because they won the most, which is, it's like, okay, how much were you really paying attention here?
How long was this dinner? Because the challenge seemed like it was about 5 minutes long. So.
Yeah, come on. that's why we didn't get to see it, right? So we didn't see any of the conversation. You just kind of showed us quick hits of Daniel's like, oh, well, I don't really want to go visit her.
I was like, listen, you might think that, but you probably shouldn't say it when you're trying to win a dating show that you don't know about, traveling back and forth to see each other. Weird choice. Weird place to be really honest, Daniel.
Yeah, especially when the other two couples are like, oh yeah, sure. Yeah, that's not a problem. Of course, play the game, right? But Daniel over here going, I don't know about that. We'll see.
Mike and Emily have barely known each other for a week, and they're like signing a mortgage together. So Daniel, like, come on. You've got to step it up at this stage. It's kind of more of the same in the third challenge, but this time they have to almost give like it's head talk about their relationship to the people on board the boat, which what a journey that would be to be an audience member watching these 6 people who you really don't know at all give you a little speech about their relationship and then you having to rank them. That would be really fun.
It would be fun, especially because, we see a little preparation beforehand.
Yeah.
Daniel and 𝐏𝐶 just kind of go whole hog it, and they're like, okay, let's just speak from the heart, which is like, what do we do at this point, right? Like, I get it.
But I do have to say, of theirs was clearly the most well presented. Like, I believe that both of these people speak in public regularly. They seemed very comfortable. It was very charming. Where that was a downfall for them, I think, is it did seem like slightly less authentic because it was so well rehearsed.
Especially because Daniel has like those really good lines of like,
yes.
She's my GPS, so I always know where home is. And in my head, I'm like, you just said you didn't want to go like visit her. So that to me, that rings false. And apparently it did, right? Like apparently it really did not hit with a lot of people. Especially when you have Jordan and Kendra who are like, oh, well, we had a good time.
Yeah. I was like, and guys, I believe you actually like each other. You don't have to convince me that hard, but you do have to say something about it. Come on.
Right. It was just one of those things where it's like, they're a very cute couple. I love seeing them being happy. And honestly, I love watching them this season. But when you compare to the other two, it's like, okay, we knew what was going on here. It's okay. Especially when you follow it up with Mike and Emily coming last, and Mike puts on his best Thunder God, and he's like, I'm super, he's just being very charming.
Yes.
Emily's, flourishing, and it's just, it's peaking all at the right time for them. If I were sitting in an audience, I'd be like, oh yeah, there's the connection there. There's the couple. There they are.
They hit the perfect balance between having, something prepared. They clearly had something to say, which is great. No one wants to watch someone flounder in public. But it felt like it was a little off the cuff. So it felt more authentic. I believe what they were saying, like, as you mentioned with the GPS thing. I was like, Daniel, when have we ever heard you say that before? You say it all the time. You're being filmed. I've never caught it on camera. So just saying. But like Mike and Emily, I do believe that. We've heard Mike talk about his childhood living in foster care and like having these conflicting feelings about being in love and finding love. So all of this came together in this speech that made a lot of sense for both of them, and it was just, it was very sweet.
Emily's also, we literally seen her story here,
yes.
right? Like we've seen her diminished in a relationship with Marty, and for however true that was, whatever the edit of the show is, at the end of the day, she really has become a different person after just meeting Mike for literally like less than a week, right? Like she's grown through this. She's in love with herself more, and and they're comfortable together, and that comes through in their speech. And it's why when we get to the final sail away ceremony, it makes a lot of sense, right?
So they were kind of adding up points throughout all of this. I don't really remember how those points shook out. It doesn't super matter. But I actually was surprised when it was Kendra and Jordan that ended up in third place. I swore it was gonna be Daniel and 𝐏𝐶 because they had really just had these problems like right before we filmed this finale. And I thought that kind of came through in all of the things that they were doing, all their speeches and the Newlywed Game. But it was Jordan and Kendra in the end. They came in third. They really just can't win anything, and I feel bad.
I know, and it sucks, right? Like, they're so cute together, and I hope outside of the show, they've at least met up and actually tried a real partnership, relationship. But they they got to the finale not winning, and so it's sort of fitting that they.
Yeah, I mean, you can't just have them win. The only thing they win be the entire show. So I guess it makes sense, kind of.
It's a shame, but you know what? They found each other, right?
They
and
did.
ultimately, like, it's not the money, which of course, like, love or money, right? But they found something, right?
Yeah, they did. They did. And then, obviously it's first, second place. Who's going to win? I was not surprised to find out. But it's Mike and Emily who end up winning this show. I mean, again, we've seen Daniel and 𝐒𝐿𝐴LYN kind of struggle this last leg of the journey together. And Mike and Emily, like you said, they peaked just at the right time. So they gave 50 grand and a luxury cruise for the both of them. It was a very sweet ending. It was exactly what it needed to be for me.
I do wonder about the luxury cruise. I'm just gonna say this real quick, little tangent, right? Are they just gonna do the boat again? Like, they're just gonna.
They were just on a boat. Let them get off a boat.
It's a surprise to me that Daniel and 𝐒𝐿𝐴LYN didn't win, especially because they've been so dominant in challenges.
Yeah.
Matt gave them points because they've won so many. Yeah. But we saw that their connection wasn't genuine. And you don't reward that. And Mike and Emily, for however little they've actually known each other, theirs was the most genuine. Even if the points don't matter, they had a clear gap. It was like 35 to 31, something like that.
It was 35 to 31, yeah.
Good for them. Good for Emily. It's a good, it's one of those feel-good moments, right?
It was a feel-good moment. We could have never predicted this from the start because Mike was not there until pretty much the very end. But we did think that Emily could make it to the end, so we were half right. As right as we could have been not knowing that Mike would exist.
You know what? I will take that. I will 100% take that victory.
We need something. We've guessed wrong all season, so.
We keep picking the wrong favorites, or we keep picking someone who goes home immediately. we just need something here, right? Like, we need our own Mike. We need our own Avenger to come in and give us this victory here.
We needed it, and Mike and Emily provided it, and for that, I will forever be grateful to them. With that, I think it's time for us to say shove off for the season, and we'll be back here doing more stuff. So keep your eyes peeled, and until then, ciao for now.